afternoon, panelists, youth ambassadors, and of course our audience for today. My name is Chloe and I'll be your MC for tonight. Today we gather in the Eureka Centre, the birthplace of Australian democracy, to acknowledge the power, presence and perspective of our next generation of leaders, the City of Ballarat Youth Ambassadors, as they pitch a passion project which will help create positive change in our city. But before we get to that, could I please ask you to take the time to put all phones on silent? First, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we meet today, the Wathaurong people, as we recognise their continuing connection to the land and waterways that surround us. Today, democracy and listening are central to our mission, and one of the fundamental events that allowed us to be here was the Eureka Stockade. However, in that and the century of politics that followed, First Nations people were often some of the first to be overlooked, something we acknowledge and action alongside the projects you'll hear about tonight. We would especially like to welcome our panellists today, Stacey Oliver and Zareen Jadwar. Stacey Oliver is the newly instated Youth Services Coordinator with extensive knowledge in community engagement, as she has recently transitioned from a role with the Ballarat Foundation, coordinating events such as Run for a Cause. Zareen Jadwar, a watchabilic person, works in LGBTQIA peer support at the Q Hub in Ballarat and has experience in outreach. The people we are hearing speak today are the City of Ballarat Youth Ambassadors, a collection of passionate young people who are determined to advocate for a future that will not only serve Ballarat and their current voting population, but also that of 5, 10 and 15 years. Managed and led by Youth Services, the role of Youth Ambassadors is to improve the quality of life of young people living and working in Ballarat through the employment of impact projects delivered within Ballarat that have feasible positive outcomes. In previous years, Speak Up has seen the launch of podcasts, sustainability projects and domestic violence and bullying campaigns, all of which have seen massively successful results. Over the past 4 weeks, we have been here at the Eureka Centre practising in a series of workshops exploring Australia's democratic foundations and the idea of active citizenship, led by the Centre's education team. Today, we're continuing that legacy by pitching these passion projects to our audience of families, key stakeholders and panellists. After I finish speaking, there will be 5 speeches, each followed by feedback from our panellists. Each pitch you hear today is connected not only to democracy, but also to the Ballarat Youth Strategy, a funding allocation document that enables us to stand here today. Drawing from the 5 focus areas on the strategy, each group has chosen a topic that is actionable, affects young people in Ballarat and matters deeply to them. After each group presents, our panellists will then present feedback as realistically and as harshly as they would like, as if this was a pitch inside council chambers or the Victorian Parliament. We politely ask that they don't hold back. Just a quick reminder that tonight's presentation is being recorded and that is accessible on the Eureka Centre's YouTube page. And with that note, I'd like to welcome our first group, Arjun, Harry, Jerry and Rajev, who will be discussing the importance of educating Ballarat youth about the benefits of healthy eating and physical education. But before that, I'd also like to remind you to please hold your applause to the end of all the speeches, so until everyone on a team has finished. Our first team will now come up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, what does everyone in this room, all the students in Ballarat, all the teachers in Ballarat, all the parents in Ballarat, what do we all have in common? Any ideas?
We live in Ballarat.
Okay, it's a good start. We all want to be healthy. We want to live a healthy life, be mentally healthy, physically healthy, and have healthy connections and relationships with everyone else. My name's Harry. I'm a Year 12 at Ballarat Clarendon, and I came with a rough upbringing. Not in regards to my home conditions, but in regards to physically. When I was first born, I was deemed to be a quadriplegic and was thought to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life if I went out of the hospital. Born over 2 months prematurely, my parents were deemed with the task of turning my legs from jelly into something that could actually move. Now, through educational nutrition and physical health and the actual benefits they can provide to an individual, I was able to become someone that could actually cope with moving. It took me weeks and weeks just to be able to learn how to move and, gain coordination between my limbs if I just had a simple bruise on my legs. Through my education that my parents provided me of learning nutrition and how much a benefit physical health is, I was able to learn how to walk, eat, talk, all those things. Sorry guys, a bit nervous. Now, everyone in the probably the older people in the room might know this, not sure about the youth ambassadors, but has anyone ever seen that Australian picture, and it's like this big plate with all the colourful food on it? It's a balanced picture of all the different foods. Has anyone actually referenced that when they went to eat something? It's completely useless. No one thinks about that. As a group, we want to implement strategies for the youth community of Ballarat, which we're in touch with all the different sporting communities, clubs and schools we're a part of, to provide more realistic and accurate nutritional education and physical health and how it benefits everyone else. Let's ditch the textbooks and start to learn about something actually useful for our lives. Let's learn about Project Nutrito.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jerry, and I think we all believe that at Ballarat we recognize the importance of promoting healthy eating among young people. And we sincerely believe that nutrition education is the key to achieving that goal. So, with that objective in mind, we propose Project Nutrito, aimed at raising awareness of moderate eating, a concept centered around choosing food that sustainably fuel our bodies and keeping us satisfied and energized for longer. Our initiative targets not only improve health and well-being for our peers, but also present a learning opportunity for students beyond the classroom. Collaborating closely with the Council Sport and Rec team, our plans firstly involves developing visual and intuitive infographics that reflects balanced eating principles. Secondly, we intend to prepare interactive PowerPoint presentations to be implemented in secondary schools, engaging fellow students like us in exploring the advantages of moderation and informed food choices. Thirdly, we also plan on hosting workshops alongside regional sports clubs like the Minor Dome and the Selkirk Stadium, equipping youth with practical knowledge on the positive impacts of prudent eating habits on their physical and mental health, and also educating young athletes on the benefits of judicial food choices on their performance in games. Lastly, we aim to work with these sport clubs and event organizers to ensure that healthy food choices are available at venues attended by young people, granting them access to a wide range of healthier alternatives other than the junk food you see in the vending machines. Ultimately, through these combined endeavors, we aspire to equip all students with the resources and expertise to pursue and maintain sustainable eating habits, and in order for them to pursue their own heart's desire.
Good afternoon. My name is Raghav. Today, I'll present my speech on why you should join Project Nutrito. Why should you join our project? You can ensure our project will have longevity by educating the coaches, not only the athletes. This will continue as athletes want to maximise performance. It is something that everyone can, most likely, relate to. It is applicable to a big part of the community of Ballarat. Through this project, we will be able to help the youth develop healthy eating habits that reduces the risks of poor mental and physical health. By introducing the idea of healthy eating to venues and organisations, our project will gain recognition, and through our effort, these ideas will be carried on by coaches who will continue to promote judicial food choices even after this year. As this is what most can relate to, our project will be able to apply to almost all students and youth, allowing a wide range of audiences to be able to be exposed to our project. Thank you for listening.
Eat better from the field, play better on the field. Good afternoon, audience and fellow presenters. My name is Arjun Tipper, and I'm the fourth and final speaker for our team. I'll be talking about the major action that will be taken to initiate Project Nutrito, as well as summarising the goal of our project. To begin with, partnering with sporting clubs and associations across Ballarat is the first and most preliminary step to initiate Project Nutrito. We can ask to partner with sporting clubs and associations such as Ballarat Table Tennis, Ballarat Cricket Association, the Minor Dome Sports Club, Volleyball Ballarat, Selkirk Stadium, and many more. Our second speaker, Jerry, talked about developing visual and intuitive infographics that reflect balanced eating principles, as well as creating interactive PowerPoint presentations and hosting workshops alongside regional sports clubs to not only educate young athletes on the benefits of judicial food choices, but also secondary school students and young people in general. These combined endeavours will lead to a larger engagement in sport, healthier eating habits, and connections and friendships in the sporting community. This project can act as a springboard for the aspirations and dreams of young people, while also promoting crucial skills and knowledge that will remain with young people for the rest of their lives. This project can positively impact the mental and physical health of young people, and this project can overall help address the imminent issues of childhood obesity and extreme eating habits. The goal of this project is not just about supporting the sporting and athletic population of youngsters, but rather the goal is to instill important knowledge that will impact all youngsters in Ballarat and potentially make them live happier, healthier, and longer lives through balanced eating. Ultimately, as a team, we would like to introduce Project Nutrito to educate young people on the benefits of healthy eating, alongside encouraging physical activities and sporting participation. Thank you for taking the time to listen and consider our project. Eat better from the field, play better on the field.
We'd now like to invite our whole team to take a couple steps forward so we can see them a little better in the light. And then we'd like to invite our panellists to present some feedback.
Thanks, Chloe. Well done. Fantastic. First off the bat, excellent presentation today. I could certainly hear the passion in your voices for this particular topic, so thank you for that. Some feedback in relation to the actual project. I think it is really important. I loved that you shared some really good imagery, sharing about the healthy eating plate, and that resonated with some of the audience. I also liked the personal story that created a relevance for the audience, so that was a powerful tactic to use. What I would have liked to hear a little bit more is some evidence around some obesity stats perhaps, and the declining rates of health and nutrition for young people. I think that would have added to your case. There's a great study which I think is by Deakin University, which is a food and mood study, so you could have pulled some data from that study, so I'd encourage you to look at that study. And I really liked the sustainability of your project, going back to the coaches, so that it's not just on the young people, but people that are influencing young people's lives. So I think that has a really good sustainability focus for it. Well done. I liked the summary at the end. It really gave the overview of the project and how you're going to implement that. Well done.
Yeah, I think I'd like to say well done to speaking. I know it can be a nerve-wracking thing, but you did really well, and you were very cohesive as a unit as well. I think there are similar sentiments that I really enjoyed the anecdote at the start, the personal story, hooking people in straight away by just being a human rather than somebody who's talking at people. That's a really great way to engage people. Using that imagery again, yes, the food table. There are sort of other images that I'm sure that you could reference as well, other statistics like you were saying. I really enjoyed, talking about wanting to connect in with, stakeholders throughout the community. So our sports clubs, we know that Ballarat's big for that as well. I think also there is a market of going into the coaches in schools as well, and maybe finding a partnership with that as well. As we know, a lot of schools are trying to make a lot of headway through that. I think one thing that I would have liked to have seen more spoken about is we're talking about the sustainability of the project, and I think it's really important if we're referencing the current financial climate at the moment. The reason, I guess, why there is such a high statistic of obesity is because with finances, the junk food is going to be much cheaper. So how do we then access and gain access to fresh produce and foods and sources? And so maybe being able to pull in some stakeholders through the community, like I'm thinking Wilson's and Curtis Fresh, talking to them about maybe partnering alongside your big sort of sports stakeholders to ensure that people can have that readily accessible and cost-effective means of getting that fresh food, which in turn will create even more sustainability for your project throughout Ballarat. But other than that, I think, my things were along the same line as you, but well done. Once again, I think this is a fantastic project. You could see the passion through the four of you. But just a bit more sort of, I guess, evidence-based research into, I guess, your geographical location as well, and just pulling out some stats, because I think that can make people more aware as well by, making it real that this is a bit of a crisis, and we're here to really sort of change that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for those astute judgments, panellists. We'd now like to invite our second group, Quinn, Alice and Maggie and Christiana, who are speaking on educating Ballarat secondary schools on homelessness in our city.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maggie, and I'm here today with my teammates Alice, who will be speaking next, Quinn, who will be speaking third, and Christiana, who will be speaking last. We are here to discuss youth homelessness in relation to Youth Strategy 3, Focus Section Area, Living and Learning. In our everyday, most of us have access to 3 meals per day, a permanent roof over our heads, and running water. However, as we know, not everyone experiences these luxuries. Homelessness is often regarded as the destitute people in our community that we see sleeping on the streets, but 94% of homelessness is invisible to the public eye. This includes couch surfing, living in a car, or temporary accommodations like hostels. As Mission Australia reports, in Australia, 15,800 kids don't have a safe, secure, permanent home, and therefore don't have access to a beneficial environment to further their development. Homelessness relief right here in Ballarat has been the highest ever in a decade. Furthermore, there are 62 young people at risk under the age of 25, as reported by the Courier, as interest rates and cost of living has been skyrocketing. Could you even imagine sleeping outside in the cold Ballarat weather as winter approaches, or even the uncertainty of not knowing where to do your homework after school? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alice. Linking on from Maggie's points, I'll be outlining how we're planning to execute the project. We selected a problem posed in the youth strategies of advocating for housing. It is also a challenge that the City of Ballarat is trying to overcome through the Homelessness Protocol 2022. Our project is named the Youth Homelessness Education. We'll be creating slideshows and posters with infographics that are easy to access and specifically made for young people. We'll display at schools and around our community. In this slideshow, we will include lived experiences, statistics to expose and raise awareness about the issue, and links to charities to provide service for those in need. These necessities don't have to be expensive. We donate clothing like socks, canned food, and non-perishables. We will list phone numbers to contact if you're faced with this problem, and branches to charities and relief programs that you can reach out to. Imagine coming home to a shelter after a freezing, helpless night and be greeted with these warm, welcoming, loving gifts from people in our own community. By carrying out this project, we can make an advancement to a safer, happier, and healthier environment. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Quinn, and I am here to tell you about how and why our project is so beneficial and could make such a huge difference within our community. As Maggie touched on before, the image our community, even specifically the teenage community, has of homeless people or homeless youth is the minuscule number of people we see sleeping on the streets in our day-to-day lives. But what is homelessness really? A statistic from Community Support Frankston states that it takes an average of 2 whole years for a homeless youth to deplete all of their resources and to actually end up on the streets. So much happens for so many people behind what our community sees as homelessness, and this is why our project is so important. By integrating learning materials and opportunities about homelessness, the things teenagers learn will stay with them long after they graduate school. And once our team has successfully implemented presentations and posters and workshops, we fully intend for each learning device to stay with the schools many years after this one. By educating Ballarat's youth, Ballarat's future, my classmates, my friends, our Youth Ambassadors team here tonight, we can step up and make change. And by supporting our project, the change could start here, right now, with all of you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, esteemed guests, parents, and fellow youth ambassadors. My name is Christiana. I stand before you alongside my dedicated teammates, Quinn, Maggie, and Alice, united by a cause that demands urgent attention: youth homelessness in our beloved community of Ballarat. Let's not merely view this as a statistical issue. Let's recognise the human faces behind these numbers, the young individuals struggling to find stability and security in their lives. Recent reports reveal a staggering 20% increase in youth homelessness within our city over the past year alone. These aren't just figures. They represent the harsh realities faced by our youth, uncertain about their futures without a stable roof over their heads. Maggie has brought to light the often overlooked facets of homelessness: those who couch surf, live in cars, or find temporary accommodations. These are individuals who may seem invisible to us, but their struggles are real and immediate. Alice presented a concrete plan of action, the Youth Homelessness Education Program. Through this initiative, we aim not only to raise awareness, but to provide tangible support to those in need. And finally, Quinn laments on how an uneducated society hinders the progression and betterment of our community, the stigma that homeless youth face every day. Through education and commitment from our schools that we desire, youth homelessness education could help save lives. Our project is not just a standalone effect. It aligns closely with the goals outlined in the Ballarat Youth Strategy, particularly in Focus Section 3. By providing accessible education materials and posters, we can empower our youth with the tools they need to overcome the challenges they face. Together, as a team, we are resolute in our mission to address youth homelessness in our community. But we cannot achieve this alone. We need your support, your commitment, and your leadership. With your backing, we can transform our vision into reality and pave the way for a brighter future for our youth. Thank you for our attention, and we eagerly await the opportunity to work together towards this noble cause. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'd now like to invite our panellists to speak again on the topic that they've just presented about homelessness and Ballarat Youth. Thank you.
Thanks, Chloe. Again, a fantastic presentation, really well done. I can certainly hear the passion. It's also a topic that's really close to my heart, so I really enjoyed your presentation from that perspective. I thought the emphasis on keywords was really eloquently done, that you presented and created that emphasis and that important point. So you spoke about the subject well by emphasising the key points. Great use of statistics, so that was a really good display of how the statistics and the evidence can be included in your speech, so well done on that section. And you had quite a number of different reference sources as well, so the Mission Australia report, and there was a couple of others there as well that you referenced quite well. My question, I guess my thoughts or suggestion for improvement, did you have any conversations with Uniting as the lead intake worker for homelessness in Ballarat? So they would be a port of call if you didn't. I would certainly get information from them as the key agency for intakes for homelessness. I liked how you summarised with the how and why. It was great to have how you're going to do it and what you're going to do and why it was so important. And I also really liked that you brought the human factor to those statistics. So you really referenced that human impact. So similar to the TAC ads, you know, how many deaths is suitable on our roads, and then we see, you know, the man's family, and so you kind of gave us that imagery. So I really liked the way that you did that. Overall, it was great. I think, and probably for the last group as well, just be really clear on that call to action. What do you want us to do? You're pitching, ask us for something.
Yeah, well done presenting. Brilliant work. Yeah, again, it's that referencing the statistics was really amazing. Straight off the bat, you were like, yep, we know what's out there. I would urge you to perhaps hone in a little more on the statistics and look at the different sort of community groups. So I'm talking First Nations, I'm talking people of colour, I'm talking queer communities. Which demographics are being hit the hardest when it comes to homelessness, particularly in Ballarat? And what that will then do is help you gauge which services you need to tap into across Ballarat. So it was mentioned Uniting is obviously the lead org, and they have a wonderful program where they can allow particularly survivors of domestic violence to be able to get temporary accommodation. But we've also got things like My Village, Berry Street, we've got CAFs, we've got Wellways, Q Hub is also a place and point of reference for our queer communities, BADAC for our First Nations. So there's all these key stakeholders who will have certain teams within them that will focus solely on homelessness and targeting certain demographics around Ballarat as well. So I urge you to have a look into our resources here. Yeah, again, that human element right at the end, really beautiful. If you don't have, you know, a personal anecdote around the subject matter, then just bringing it back to the everyday human who's in the room and trying to find that connection point and hooking us in. I'm really excited that you want to take it into schools and to teach the youth, and you say you want to give them the tools. Exactly what are those tools that we are equipping them with? Are you just telling them the statistics about homelessness and where you could be? Or are you talking about wanting to bring in stakeholders from Uniting, from Berry Street, from CAFs, to actually talk about the services they provide so that if you do get into this situation, we can put in preventative measures by using those services. So it's really thinking about what is the take-home message that you're going to be sending to these particular youths. And also, when you go to different schools, you're going to have to adapt the way that you, I guess, present your ideas to the schools as well, because different demographics, again, it's going to relate differently to those statistics of homelessness, yeah? I think, yeah, just, yeah, I think it's on the same note of what do you want us to take away? Is there anything that we can do, you know? We've got connections with those stakeholders across Ballarat. Would you like us to get you in contact with the people at Uniting, you know? Are you wanting us to go out to schools, to the wellbeing teachers and say, hey, there's this group that wants to inform? You know, it's just asking what you need from us as well to help make this program successful, I think. But overall, the passion, the emphasis on certain words was really, really beautiful and evident, and your passion for this project is evident. So thank you so much.
Thank you, panellists and presenters. We'd now like to welcome Corey, Cooper and Om, who are focusing on bullying and finding sustainable solutions that will deliver tangible long-term results.
Hello, my name is Om, and today I, with Cooper, our second speaker, and Corey, our third speaker, will discuss how to combat bullying. Cooper will explain how we will combat bullying in the plethora of forms it comes in, and Corey will summarise how this issue affects all who reside in Ballarat and explain how our project is an effective barrier and something crucial to combat bullying. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you think, why should we care about bullying? We are not victims. Well, an article in The Age stated that in 2015, Ballarat was the most heavily torn region by bullying, with 25% of students affected. Think about this. How would you feel if your own child was facing numerous taunts or was being physically abused? Similarly, a parent of a victim of bullying has to face the same trauma of bullying. Our youth strategy focus area targets those who are 12 to 25 years of age and focuses on health and well-being physically, emotionally, and socially. We cannot just stare at it and express our sorrow. Is it fair for a student to have to sacrifice their ambitions just because their mental health is at risk? Anyone who believes it is not atrocious behaviour to bully or even harass someone for fun or to let out their emotions must rethink twice, instead of blindly tormenting an innocent school student. It's absolutely horrific, absolutely petty, and absolutely abysmal that 29% of students have finished their education only at year 10, just due to some vicious and brazen bullies. Now, I will pass on to Cooper, our second speaker.
Hi, I'm Cooper, and I would like to introduce our project, Brace Against Bullying. Our project idea is a counselling program, but the difference between our idea and every other school counsellor is that our program is meant to be and will be more comfortable, fun, and beneficial for the student. The way we can make this concept work is by getting two students facing similar issues to meet with a teacher or health and wellbeing worker outside of school in a public safe space. As a student who has had numerous interactions with school counsellors, I would feel much more comfortable and less embarrassed talking to someone my age who understands what I'm going through. By implementing this project, we'll be hitting not one but two of the focus areas in the youth strategy. The first one is safety, targeting the bullying prevention action. Our project is also in line with the Activating Safe Spaces action in the Connected Community focus area. I can tell you right now, this project is so important to the youth community in Ballarat, and the stats don't deny it. In the youth strategy, it is stated that 49% of young people have been concerned for their safety, and 28% said that bullying was the biggest issue. This simply isn't good enough, and something needs to change. I would just like to add that we realise our project is quite similar to the Live for Life program, but we think that both programs would work well together, and ours is slightly different and has different benefits. Thank you. Here's Corey.
Bullying is an issue. Bullies were terrible at my school. Well, I knew lots of people who experienced it. A place where people can go to talk to others in this situation would help people get away from the bullies. People would feel safer if there was a place they could get it away. How would you feel if you were in this kind of nightmare? What would you do? We have to do something about this, or more children will be lost.
Thank you, Corey, Cooper and We'd now like to hand back over to our panellists again.
Thanks, Chloe. Well done. Another great presentation, and clearly, again, very passionate about the issue. So thank you for sharing that so candidly. I really liked the language that you used. It was very emotive in the way that you spoke, combat bullying, and that your repetitive language. Absolutely, absolutely. So you made your point. That was great. I liked the reference to the strategy, so particularly the youth strategies. You mentioned a number of complementary strategies as well, and that was really helpful for us to get the picture of where you're linking that to. good use of stats. Again, you could probably use a little bit more stats and from some different sources. Bringing in a personal story, again, creating that human factor so that we heard in the other groups. I think that could have enhanced your presentation. What question or what organisations did you reach out to? There's a number of different causes, Dolly's Dream, there's a couple of other bullying ones that you could have done some research around their particular model on how they support bullying and try and reduce bullying. And I liked that you drew some similarities to the Live for Life program. So I think that was really well done, that you are aware of that program and that you're basing that on a similar type peer-to-peer model. So well done. I look forward to that. Again, ask for an action. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, same again. Fantastic presentation. Passion is there. The human connection to the overall theme is there. Again, statistics, fantastic. Yes, I would urge delve deeper. Again, when we're looking at bullying, similar to the homelessness, which demographics are copping it more, which sort of schools and demographic of schools are copping it more, which ones need a bit more, help with your program than other schools. And I think you'll find there might be some discrepancies with different, schools around the region. There are programs, as mentioned, that you can reach out to. There are also programs that will go into schools as well, and you can talk to them about the models that they use. Particularly, I'm thinking about, theatre and education is massive when it comes to the subject of bullying. Things like Brainstorm, Ilbidgery is a black theatre company, and they focus, on First Nations communities, but they use theatre as a tool to engage students to be able to talk about these issues, because I know sometimes when it's younger people, we don't necessarily like to make it about the first person, so we use this imaginary world to be able to draw out those discussion points. Overall, I'm really excited that it's going to be a program that's going to go into schools, but again, what are you wanting to get out of the project by taking it into schools? I also want to ask the question, why only 12 to 25? Why not younger than that? We know through the world bullying can take many forms as well, and I'd be interested to know which areas, is it cyberbullying, is it physical bullying, what are we seeing, because we know that younger people are also experiencing that as well. So why are we not taking it into primary schools as well? I guess is a really important question, and to look at which type of bullying aspects you really want to focus on, because it's quite a big world when it comes to bullying. So, we've got certain organisations that just focus on cyberbullying. So it's, I guess, just understanding what you want to target, because you can't target everything. But overall, a really great presentation. But again, it's just that, what do you want from us here and now to be able to help you in your quest for taking that to where it needs to go?
Next, we'd like to welcome up our next group, Denali, Netu and Ruby, who are pitching how we can actively and effectively prevent drugs and alcohol consumption in teens and young adults.
Good afternoon, everyone, panelists, and other distinguished guests and visitors. I'm Netu, a Year 8 student at Ballarat Clarendon College, and today I will be talking about a widespread issue that is tormenting our youth: the use of illicit drugs, known as recreational substances, and tobacco. But firstly, what are illicit drugs? Drugs are naturally or artificially made substances, typically used as a medicine. However, when placed in the wrong hands, drugs are taken for pleasure and become a potentially life-threatening addiction. In 2019 alone, 24% of young Australians, that is approximately 768,000 people, engaged in the illicit use of drugs, and that number is only rising. Another pressing issue is smoking and the relatively new use of e-cigarettes in teens and young adults. Ranging disguises from pens to medical devices, e-cigarettes, like regular cigarettes, contain nicotine, an addictive ingredient, which is in fact classified as a poison in Australia. Unfortunately, not only are e-cigarettes poorly regulated, but they also have a marketed misconception of being safer than traditional cigarettes. Already, more than 50 people have died from e-cigarettes worldwide, and thousands more have developed irreversible lung conditions such as COPD and lung cancers. However, our kids aren't the only ones at fault. According to a recent poll conducted by the Royal Children's Hospital, Melbourne, 57% of parents have never discussed drugs or smoking with their children. 1 in 3 parents are unaware that e-cigarettes contain toxins and chemicals, while a further 40% do not believe that smoking can lead to death. Do you really think so many people would take drugs or vape if they knew just how detrimental they were to our health? Without the right information to guide them, our kids are running into a world full of danger that will ultimately lead them to morbidity and mortality, with numerous social and economic ramifications. I'll now hand over to Januli to explain how we plan to tackle this important issue.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denali and I'm a Year 7 student at Ballarat Clarendon College. And today I will be talking about the drug and tobacco crisis. Imagine your life spiralling out of control, experiencing despair, dread and guilt as you realise that a successful life has just slipped away. All because of one wrong choice. In the future, every day could be a reminder of how you can't run from the life that you ruined. Does anyone deserve this? However, if only you could have more ways to seek help, you could have escaped from these problems. This is why the youth drug and tobacco crisis is a major social issue. As per the City of Ballarat Youth Strategy Report, 43% of youths living in Ballarat are concerned about the misuse of alcohol and other drugs. While working on the project, we made sure that we comply with the City of Ballarat's Health and Wellbeing Strategic Plans, Health and Social Services Livability Domain. There has been over 12% of youths using drugs and alcohol in Ballarat. As a part of the United Youth of Ballarat, we must move forward to the project called Facts Not Fear Ballarat. This project will put QR codes around public spaces such as shops, public transport and high schools, as 31% of teens use public transport and a total of 72% of people aged 19 to 23-year-olds say that they are using public transport too. The QR codes will provide essential resources for lists of the most dangerous drugs, the contents of certain drugs and safe places to get tested for overdosing. For example, fentanyl, a deadly substance found in cocaine, heroin and other addictive drugs. Over 150 people worldwide die every day because of complications with synthetic opioids such as fentanyl. Also, educational institutions can help you or your children. These include Smart Ask. They will go to schools around Ballarat and teach children about the dangers of these detrimental recreational substances. Furthermore, this will give information that will stay with teenagers for the rest of their life. Clearly, we will increase awareness of the drug and tobacco crisis. Now we'll hand it over to Ruby to sum up our case.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruby, a Year 10 from Woodman's Hill Secondary College. As the final speaker of my team's case, I'd like to reiterate the importance of the drug and tobacco issue in teens. These recreational substances have been going on for too long, and we need to stop it now. In 2022 alone, 549 young people died from illicit drug use. How can we just sit here and allow our children, our future, to vanish so easily and suddenly? But there are always solutions to every problem. By setting up QR codes around schools and public transport, shopping centres and others, we can help bring attention and to inform people about the risks and dangers of drugs and smoking. Furthermore, we can use educational organisations such as SmartAsk to educate children about the hazards of recreational substances. But most importantly, we could set up accessible overdose centres and clinics for teens and young adults. For example, Ballarat provides testing centres and clinics for teens, testing centres and fentanyl testing strips to detect the presence of fentanyl, a fatal substance that is often added to drugs such as heroin and cocaine. However, 36% of deaths of Australians 13 years and younger are from fentanyl overdoses. Why? Because very few people know about it, let alone have the access to these facilities. By opening more drug testing clinics, we are saving lives, we are saving our children, we are saving our future. Let's all get up and take a stand against these recreational substances before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruby, Denali and Netu. We'd now like to hand over again to our panellists.
Thanks, Chloe. Well done. Another brilliant presentation, and clearly you've done a lot of research on the area, so you knew that topic very well. The use of emotive language was really well placed in your presentation. Your explanation of the different drugs and the impact that that has, along with the key statistics, really show that you knew your topic, and it provided great power to your speech. I'm interested to know whether you had explored Vic Health as a platform. So there's lots of amazing resources on the Vic Health platform, and there is currently the Vape Cloud art exhibition in Ballarat at the moment, which could be a really good way to start your project. It's in Ballarat for a few weeks, so very timely. Bringing in that 50 people have died, or 50 young people had died, so again, that really emotive discussion around what the impact is on our community. A number of organisations locally, and at the end you did mention SmartAsk, but other agencies, again, such as Uniting, Ballarat Community Health, Grampians Health, that all run AOD type programs and recovery programs. So it'll be great to link in with those. I really liked your QR code. I thought that was a really achievable model of your project, and having that displayed in public areas such as public transport and schools. I think that's a really great way to raise awareness. So well done on that thought process. Again, I hear that you're wanting more clinics, but that wasn't a direct ask. And how can we support the development of those clinics? Is it around advocacy? Is it around budgets? Who do we need to talk to about that? So how can we help? Ask us for something specific. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. A similar vein of thought, it was really clearly thought out. Your statistics, I really liked that a lot of them were brought back to the Ballarat community and making it more personable to us as we live here and we're part of that community as well. I guess the question is, we're talking about drugs and cigarettes, and you've got this beautiful project with the QR codes, which I think is awesome, and you've done research to know where the target areas are across the city are going to be for our young people. But I guess we know that young people aren't always going to be feared into abstaining from these practices either, and I love that you're going to have the list of clinics as well, but I guess it's also alternatives to those practices. Like, for example, you spoke a lot about vaping. Well, there are, there's those necklace whistles, that people can purchase, and where might they be able to go for alternatives, because sometimes it's not necessarily the drug itself, it's the action of doing that thing. I am excited to see that you want to take it into schools and what that looks like. The question I want to ask is, what sort of tools are you going to do to be able to make the school children aware or students aware that these QR codes are around and happening, and how to spread that word? A great tool would be, yes, leaning on those community organisations. Ballarat Community Health does a lot of, theatre and education as well across the region, and so you could link with them to maybe help create a project where they could take it into schools and teach kids about these QR codes and where the clinics are. You could also, that way, you know, by creating that project, you could then look at investing into something like Ballarat Community Health to be able to help put up pop-up drug and alcohol centres, whether that be across the state, across the Ballarat region, or perhaps there's a way that you could get these sort of pop-up centres into schools maybe, you know, thinking about that sort of longevity of the program is really important as well. But yeah, who are going to be those stakeholders? Who's going to provide that funding? Because it's one thing to say, yep, we want to do the QR codes, but that's going to take time and money and effort, and you're going to want these big organisations to help you get that word out. So my next step would be to, reach out to these organisations to see how they can help push that program into schools as well. But overall, a really great project, really great passion for it, and best of luck.
Thank you so much, speakers and panellists. And to our audience, don't worry, we won't keep you here too much longer. Finally, we have Jacob, who will now speak about how services in Ballarat need to be adapted to meet the needs of young parents and those expecting.
Alrighty, I am a one-man show, so just stick with me. Okay, so today I want to shed light on a crucial topic: the importance of providing meaningful support networks for teenagers who find themselves pregnant. It's an issue that demands our attention, empathy, and action. First and foremost, let's recognise that teenage pregnancy is not a moral failing, rather a complex intersection of circumstances. Many teenagers who become pregnant are facing difficult situations such as low socioeconomic status, lack of comprehensive sex education, and inadequate access to contraceptives. Blaming and shaming only exacerbates their struggles. Instead, what these young parents need is understanding, compassion, and a network. They need a network of support to help them navigate this journey. This project hopes to provide this for young people and those expecting. Teenage pregnancy is not just a statistic. It's a reality that deeply impacts the lives of young people and their communities. When a teenager discovers they are pregnant, they face a myriad of challenges: physical, emotional, and social. In such a vulnerable moment, access to meaningful support becomes absolutely essential. It is clear to see, however, that the challenges that young parents face are deeper than what they may appear on the surface. Issues such as homelessness, mental illness, and poor health literacy often complicate teenage pregnancies. It is bigger than just the pregnancy itself, it is the underlying factors associated. Addressing social, economic, nutritional, psychological, as well as medical needs is more likely to result in better pregnancy outcomes for the mother and their child. Moreover, support networks offer emotional support, which is equally crucial. Teenage pregnancy can be overwhelming and isolating, especially when faced with the judgment and stigma from society. Having someone to turn to for help and information can make all the difference in helping these young parents cope with the trials and tribulations that teen pregnancy can invoke. The ways in which we can help improve the quality of life for the parents as well as the child is through advocating to work alongside two key community stakeholders. We could advocate to work alongside Ballarat Health Services to ensure adequate information and knowledge about their services is obtained by the parents or those expecting, and ensure that these services are accessible outside work and school hours and include other valuable amendments that can make the biggest difference for these young people. These modest changes will allow these individuals to curb the statistics, such as the fact that compared to women aged 20 to 29, the risk of dying from a pregnancy-related cause is twice for those aged 15 to 19 and 5 times for those aged 10 to 14. If individuals who are pregnant had the ability to access the level of care they need whilst also pursuing their educational or career goals, it would be my guess that we would see this statistic drop. We could also advocate to work alongside Parent Place, who has the capacity to provide pregnant teenagers with the resources they need to make informed decisions about their health and future. This would include access to healthcare services for the parent and child, as well as prenatal care, playgroup, and daycare. This would be done in conjunction with those who have or are experiencing teen pregnancy to ensure that the amendments are targeted to these individuals. These services are not only to ensure the well-being of the parent, but also to contribute to the healthy development of the child, while simultaneously allowing the parent to engage meaningfully in school, work, or other self-growth endeavours. Unfortunately, many of Parent Place's resources are not available outside school hours, and their opening hours are 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m, meaning that should a young parent want to remain in high school, unless they have a well-founded support network of individuals who could take their child to and from Parent Place, these parents would have to miss roughly a quarter of their school day just to access Parent Place. Additionally, we would advocate and engage community stakeholders in the creation of a bus stop near Parent Place. Currently, the two closest bus stops include a couple hundred metres walk up and down arguably the steepest part of Sturt Street. With our current system, it is increasingly difficult to access Parent Place as an individual with a child or potentially multiple. This is an issue that needs immediate addressing if any work is to be done in expanding the service of Parent Place. We cannot expect a parent with a young child to cross over 4 lanes of traffic combined with a steep hill. It is simply unfair, and barriers like this only add to the difficulty of being a teen parent. With both Ballarat Health Services and Parent Place, our overall aim would be to advocate for modest changes to be made that can make the world of difference for these young parents. We would aim to develop an information-based campaign that is distributed to schools that allow students to identify whether these services are relevant to them and where and how to access them. Meaningful support networks empower pregnant teenagers to continue their education and pursue their goals. With the right support in place, many teenagers can achieve academic success and career success while navigating parenthood. Support networks play a vital role in breaking the cycle of poverty and inequality. By providing resources and assistance to pregnant teenagers, we can build a brighter future for themselves and their children. When we invest in the well-being of young parents, we invest in the prosperity of our community. In conclusion, the importance of creating and advocating for better access to Ballarat Health Services and Parent Place for pregnant teenagers cannot be overstated. By offering compassion, resources, and empowerment, we can help these young people navigate the challenges of teen pregnancy and build a better future for themselves and their children. Let's stand together in support of pregnant teenagers and ensure that they have the tools and opportunities they need to thrive. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Jacob. We'd now like to hand over our panellists for the final time tonight.
Thanks, Chloe. Well done, Jacob. A fantastic effort, and by yourself, absolutely brilliant that you really researched that topic, you understood the issues of that topic, and you presented very, very well. A couple of points to make. I thought your use of emotive language, again, was really good, and that you focused on those key points that you wanted to make, and you really emphasised the importance of those. I liked how you talked about the complex needs and the holistic approach, so that you weren't just focused on the pregnancy itself, but the emotional well-being of the parents, the nutrition, there was a whole range of things that you factored into your pitch, which was excellent. It's about the whole person, so well done on that perspective. I liked how you referenced Parent Place, obviously, and you had some great facts around the opening hours and that suitability for parents that are trying to maintain education and can't access that service outside of those hours. I would encourage you to speak further to the Young Parents program based out at Yule that are maintaining that focus on education throughout pregnancy, and it's quite undersubscribed at the moment as far as it has lots of places available, but there's not many people taking that up. So, and they've got childcare facilities, so it takes care of the childcare component as well. The school education, I think you could have delved into that a little bit further, that there's probably a lot more statistics around completion rates for parents that have left school because of being a parent. So I think you could have delved into that a little bit more. I would have liked to hear a bit more around those education statistics, around the importance of education and that academic success that you alluded to. I also liked the thoughts around access to Parent Place in its current location, crossing 4 lanes of traffic and having bus stops that are not very close and on the steepest part of Sturt Street. So they're really important factors when you're pushing a pram and for disability access as well. So there's that aspect to consider. I liked that you were advocating for modest changes, but I wasn't quite clear on what you were asking, what those modest changes were. You talked about the info campaign, but again, what is your ask for us? What are you pitching for? What do you want out of this pitch? But well done, great topic, and you presented very well. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful work for one human being doing it on their own. So I commend you for your effort and beautifully spoken, passionate, absolutely. The emphasis was there, emphasis on what you were getting across. I really appreciated you, acknowledging those intersections when we're talking about somebody who is pregnant. We're talking that, emotional and physical and, mental sort of intersections of a holistic approach of a human being. I love that you referenced Ballarat Health Services. My question would be, when we're looking at the statistics, and you mentioned going and looking at educational statistics, again, it's looking at those intersectionalities, which demographics are more likely to fall pregnant, particularly in our Ballarat community, and therefore then thinking about the access to certain services. I think particularly, as a queer First Nations person, the history that goes along with accessing hospitals, there's a lot of barriers around that, and so ensuring that, you've got obviously a service like Ballarat Health Services who is inclusive of everybody, but also, I guess, also having other alternatives. So I'm thinking like Badak Medical Centre is a big one as well for our First Nations community, where they might feel a bit more comfortable when they're around mob and practitioners who work with community. So I think it's just really important to acknowledge that. And again, you referenced parent and child a lot. I think there was a moment there where we said, like mum, and we know that also inclusive language is really important as, things start to expand. It's not just women who are necessarily having children. Parent Place is a fantastic area and it's really central, so I love that you've picked that as the information centre. It would be connecting in with them and making sure that they do have the up-to-date sort of info that is needed for all those different intersectionalities, and like, you've mentioned the Yule parenting school program, is that at Parent Place and do people know about that? So just making sure that we've got those current accesses to services, because we know so many are popping up across the region. Talking about how to access Parent Place, beautiful. Again, having the idea of wanting to have a bus stop created closer for that accessibility. That would require perhaps talking to the relevant team at the City of Ballarat around development and how you can go about that and how much it's going to cost. And of course, that's budgetary. And, pitching that to them, particularly about why it's so important to have more bus stops around. I really appreciated, advocating for, our young ones who do fall pregnant to still have access to education, because I think that's really important. And knowing that there are varied options for them as well. And alongside that, advocating to still have access to school, but also much like Parent Place, also having other avenues for childcare services so they can continue to go to school. And I know that there would be programs around there like the Yule Park, but if you didn't want to attend that particular school, you wanted to go back to your regular school, finding childcare centres that are within means and within the financial budget of that particular person as well. You talked about an info-based campaign to schools. What does that look like? What information are we getting out to schools? Are we making sure that that information is inclusive? Is it that we get a dedicated team together who goes out, who perhaps represent those different intersectionalities, or perhaps have that lived experience, who can talk to the students about, hey, I've been through this and this is how I got here and you can do it too. You know, bringing back that human element in the way that you're trying to target to young people, because I know myself, when I'm handed a piece of paper with words on it, I don't always want to read it. If you can have that human interaction, they're more likely to retain that. So just finding those creative means of connecting in with our youth. But overall, what a wonderful pitch. I think it's got, you know, legs to stand on, and just hitting the right people and making sure that you've got those alternatives available for those intersectionalities. It could be a really fantastic program.
And with that, our presentation night has come to a close. Well done to all the groups who presented today, especially the people who are new to the group. We'd like to give special thanks to our wonderful panellists, Stacey and Zareen, for their time and feedback, the Eureka Centre staff, especially Sarah and Nelson, for their continued guidance on the pitches, our youth facilitators, Suze and Brendan, for their support, and lastly, our audience, everyone who was invited here today, family, friends, and stakeholders. Now, we'd like to invite you for some light refreshments in the foyer, but before that, if you're comfortable with it, please join us on the stage for a group photo.